What blunders you see young entrepreneurs are doing right now?
Entrepreneurship is about money. Money. Passionate about everything, but if they're stupid with numbers and they spend more money than they have, they go bust. Ugh. For anybody going down the entrepreneurial path, you're obviously quite mad. Quite mad. If you're lucky on 100 grand a year, if you're lucky, you will save between 5 and 10,000.
Best career advice you have received up till now?
Best career advice that I've ever received?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fantastically well, thanks.
So, how was the Future Summit today?
So for me, it's actually my first day at the Future Summit today. It is the first day that it's here. And I arrived just as it was starting. So I literally got off the plane, went to the opening thing, and then I went back to sleep again.
Okay.
Not because of the event.
Okay.
The event's actually quite very interesting, and I've had fantastic conversations at lunch. But it was just flying in from Europe. I need some
You
sleep.
have
I'm a
been to
human.
Pakistan earlier as well, right?
This is my fourth time.
This is your fourth time.
Yes.
So, how's your experience with Pakistanis?
It's a country with massive potential, and it still has massive potential. Every year it has masses of potential.
Lovely.
It's interesting to see that it's a very young population. It's a very dynamic population. It's a population that's also connected to the world as well. So. But somehow this potential has to be converted into something that's real, tangible, so that people can have better jobs, better lives, etc., etc.
So, the people who are watching you for the first time, give them 30-second intro of yours.
So, hello. My name is Mark Turrell. I do a few different things. So, I educate. So, I teach at a business school. I teach a course on scaling, persuasion, stuff like that. I'm an entrepreneur. I had my first business when I was 6 years old, little business. But right now I've created tech companies, I have an AI company, I do various entrepreneurial things. I'm an author. I wrote a book on scaling. It's available on Amazon now, how do you scale things with small, smart moves. I do strategy work, figuring out how to do stuff. I do all kinds of stuff.
Lovely. That means you're hustling. So, the podcast is called Hustle.
Oh, very good.
HUS.
Yes, hustle is good, yes.
Yeah, okay. So you can tell a lot of maybe entrepreneurs who are watching you what blunders you see young entrepreneurs are doing right now.
What plunders?
Blunders.
Blunders?
Yeah.
Well, all of them. Okay. And so it's very hard. I mean, anybody going down the entrepreneurial path, you're obviously quite mad. Quite mad. Because the chance that you'll actually make money is very low. It'll cost you more money than you think. It'll take you more time than you think. You'll earn less. It's just a terrible idea. Now, obviously, though, if you don't believe me, then you have a chance. I wouldn't have believed me. So the next thing then is that some people can't work for other people. So I was looking at, so I live in Europe, and Europe there's higher wages than here in Pakistan. So, but maybe let's say, if you want to earn $1 million, like have $1 million in the bank, and you earn $100,000 per year salary, how many years will it take you to have $1 million in your bank account? Do you know? It's a question. How many years? If you earn $100,000 a year, how many years will it take you to have $1 million in the bank?
10.
31. You have to live.
Yeah.
And you have taxes.
Okay.
So if you take out taxes and living expenses, if you're lucky on 100 grand a year, if you're lucky, you will save between 5 and 10,000. Therefore, it won't take you 10 years. Best case in the world, it'll take you 30 plus years to make $1 million. But even that's very unlikely. In fact, you won't. It's not possible. Even if you're on 200,000, it doesn't just sort of pop in. So right now, if you are to, let's say, have material type of wealth and changes, and I think particularly so even in this country as well, you're not going to make it out of a salary.
True.
You need to somehow do something that is entrepreneurial to create something that is somehow valued, whether it is by investors in some case, if you need investment capital, whether it's by customers that sort of give you money, where you're able to deliver it at a lower cost and you make money. The only way of making material wealth is actually entrepreneurship. Now, you could also inherit money. That's also quite nice. You could marry into money, another thing. And so there are other ways of doing it as business model. But as the entrepreneur, you're looking at, let's say, and also another problem that entrepreneurs have is entrepreneurship is, it's nice to have a vision. It's nice to have a passion. Entrepreneurship is about money. Money. So there are many, many organizations that have gone bust. They've had phenomenal visions and they're really passionate about everything. But if they're stupid with numbers and they spend more money than they have, they go bust. Ugh. So it's also why there's this sort of startup pornography, the Y Combinator type of stuff, and you're looking at that, say, how big are we now? Fuck that. Money, money, money. So,
Yeah.
and it's I think then also, I mean, we'll look at, let's say, how things change with venture capital, outside capital. I mean, so there's different, let's say, waves about how money is coming in and how things are being invested. You are generally better off if you're an entrepreneur working out, let's say, how customers will give you money for doing cool stuff that the customer values. So to build a business off revenue. Now, you can't do that with many types of business. So if you're a deep tech entrepreneur, you're working at a technical school, and you've got a really good idea for a new type of battery in space, you probably can't get that funded out of revenue. But so you can't always use revenue as a basis, but you do need to always think about money.
Lovely. And let's say if somebody's watching you and thinks about raising funds, or let's say, okay, there was another way what your customer is going to value and pay you for, right? But when it comes to fundraising, what tips you'd like to give to young entrepreneurs?
So actually, can I approach this from a different angle? Well, because quite often, I mean, you can quite quickly look at fundraising. I was just having a conversation over lunch here. We're looking at a complaint about entrepreneurs in Pakistan, about how everybody wants to have a CTO and an engineering team, and therefore they need to raise lots of money for this big tech stack. And we were talking about low-code and no-code platforms where you can integrate with things called Zapier or Make.com or OpenAI and API stuff, or Glide, which is a tool that I use as well. And so then, sure, you could hire people to build your PHP stack with, yes, big, custom code, blah, blah. Or you might be able to use a low-code platform and do it in a fraction of the time, a fraction of the cost, and get feedback from the customers faster. And so I do see that there is this, particularly when you look at the world of AI, when there's so much money that has gone onto so many different platforms, I think it's genuinely hard for a tech company today to be truly unique by building things, when there's no way that you have the same amount of money as some of your competitors. And probably any idea that you have is good, it will get picked up by your competitors and they'll copy it. So
Lovely.
Therefore, being fast to market, getting feedback from market is very good. But I think then the other thing is that there will always be niches where you can have a very, very successful business, a tremendously successful business by doing this specific thing where it's not interesting enough for anybody to take you on. So competitive-wise, you have a nice little niche. But then if it does become interesting, because you're the established player, you're more likely to get bored, which gives you at least an exit. So I think the obsession about fundraising is okay. But I dare all of you entrepreneurs that are listening to this right now, take all the things that you have. First thing I would suggest you do is go to ChatGPT, read out to GPT to say, here are the things that I'm trying to do. Please tell me how I can do it without money. And it will tell you. Now, I won't get it 100% right, but it'll at least be 80% more right than you were before you said it. And then the next thing is then to look at the different parts that you're spending money on and to see basically how can you kill the cost. And even if it's just as an intellectual challenge for you to do the work, I mean, this is what entrepreneurs should be doing. We shouldn't just be thinking about how do we make our company as fancy as possible to get in some VC money. Should. But I think these are just disciplines that I think more and more VCs are likely to expect entrepreneurs to do that. Because then it means that the money that does come in is more wisely spent. But you can do amazing stuff.
Okay. Young entrepreneurs who are watching you, especially unke liye, this is a quick round of the questions. I'll be throwing quick questions, a rapid fire round basically.
Very good.
Okay. So what's your favorite book?
My favorite book. Oh, that's a good one. I have to think a little bit. I will say The Matrix because it's a movie, because it was just in my head. I jumped off a plane. Favorite book that I have? I do have a favorite book. I like behavioral science books. Irrationality by Stuart Sutherland.
Okay. Favorite podcast up till now?
Favorite podcast? I could say mine on 25-year plan, but I didn't really finish off very many of them.
I'll attach the link then.
Which one?
I'll attach the link then.
Yeah.
Okay. And your favorite travel destination?
Favorite travel destination? Anywhere?
Anywhere?
Anywhere's good. Travel is fantastic.
Anywhere in Europe, maybe?
Anywhere.
Okay.
Like if I had a chance to go up to space, yeah, that sounds cool. well, and it's partially because you learn lots, particularly you're in a different frame of mind. So when you arrive, the food is different, the language is different and everything else. But at the same way, you can get, as an entrepreneur, you can gain difference just by going a different way to work.
And favorite cuisine?
Favorite cuisine? Let us go for, what's cool? I just quite like French food. But then, again, all of these, I love difference.
Okay. And last, best career advice you have received up till now?
Best career advice that I've ever received? So your questions might be quick, but my answers aren't necessarily. What are my best career advice that I've ever received? Actually, one thing was it was meant to be advice, and I understood what he said, but I interpreted it in my own way. When I was a 24-year-old student, I was doing my PhD, I was working at Intel, and I was doing really cool analysis on how companies use computers, really leading it. And as a 24-year-old, I was consulting to the CEO of IBM Europe. Stuff. So there was one guy that came to me to say, okay, Mark, you're doing really good stuff. I do consultancy. Do you think that you would be better off alone with your thing, or you should work with others like me? And I didn't say it directly to his face, but I said, well, basically, I don't want to work with you because you're not the right partner for me to have. But to some extent, with the visions and stuff that I have, I'd rather have whatever sort of... I know in myself I'm not going to work for other people. I might work with other people on projects, but most of these things are my vision and my thing, and I will find people that will help to make these things happen. I'd already worked out I'm not going to be somebody that plays nicely in the sandpit, because I also know that I don't have to sit in the sandpit, I can go into a different place. And so therefore I'm not a sort of subservient type of person that will just meekly comply to whatever anybody else does. Mission driven. There.
Okay, wonderful. I think there's a lot that one can learn from you. But today, this was it. Thank you so much for the wonderful advices. It was wonderful having you here.
Very, very good. Thank you very much. And thank you for organizing this thing. Really appreciate it. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Okay.